Alright, welcome back everyone. Before we jump into tying real quick, I just want to cover a couple things about your materials options with this fly. You have some options on pretty much every part of this fly. You have at least 2 options, and I guess the first thing you can make a decision on is what kind of foam you want to use. Today I'm going to be using some foam like this. This is foam that you're going to go and buy at the fly shop. It's really nice, really dense foam, but if you don't have this, or you don't have a fly shop near you, you can use craft store foam that you buy at a big box store that comes in these huge sheets. This is a cheaper option for sure. I mean, you can get a sheet like this for close to $1, under $1, and you can make a ton of flies with this. This stuff definitely doesn't hold up as well as this. It's not as dense. You can feel it has more give to it, but it works just fine. So if you want to have a lot of color options, you can go and pick up a big variety of these. But I guess that's your first decision right here, is whether you want to use craft foam or foam that you can get at a fly shop. The second option you have is what kind of legs you're going to put on this. So you might have some silly legs on hand. This is sort of you'll see these on a lot of streamers. They're a softer leg, and then alternatively you can use round rubber legs. This is a stiffer leg. They come in like this. I don't know if the camera's going to focus, but they come in all glued together, and you separate them. Now, the big difference between these is these are a lot more rigid. So you'll see, I'm going to use these today, the round rubber legs. When you tie it down to the fly, these splay out really nice. Like they're stiff, so they kind of just stay split like this. These are a little softer, so you might have a harder time getting them to split wide, but they do have more movement, right? So they'll kind of add a little bit of action to the fly if you want that. And then the body of the fly is another option you have. I didn't pull this stuff out yet, but today I'm going to be using an ice dubbing body. So we're just going to dub on some ice dub and wrap it up. But a lot of guys, when they tie their beetles, they actually use Peacock herl. A lot of people say that there's something about like the iridescence in the peacock feathers that really drive fish nuts, or just kind of a trigger for fish. If you are going to use those, I'd recommend that you maybe hit the fly with a little bit of Z-Mint or super glue or something before you wrap them, because I'm sure you guys know peacock is a pretty brittle material, so it could split on you, and if it splits in the middle because a fish bit it, it's just going to explode on you. The last thing is we're going to put a sighter on this fly so we can, it's easier to see on the water. I'm going to use like the paraposts or whatever they're called. Can't remember exactly what they're called, that you'd buy at a fly shop. They're great, they're nice, they're cylindrical, they look clean, especially if you're tying flies for people other than yourself. I would definitely recommend using those. But if you're just tying for yourself, what I really recommend is going to that big box store and getting a big sheet of like yellow, orange, chartreuse, and you can just cut little tiny slivers off this, and you'll have sighters forever. This is a super cost-effective way to get a ton of use out of one sheet. But that's really it. So I just want to say that before we get into the video, because you might have one material, you might not have peacock, but you might have a ice dub dispenser, so you can kind of make this fly your own. There's some options available to you. But yeah, we'll get right to the tying here. All right, we got our hook in the vise. We're tying this today on a Partridge dry fly supreme hook, size 12. Pretty much tie most of my beetles in size 12, but you can go 12, 14, 16. Got some Veevus 8/0 in black spooled up here, and I'm just going to start that right behind the eye. Doesn't matter too much where, and we're just going to lay down a thread base. Go back to the barb. And once you're at your barb, you're going to tie in your foam. This is a super simple fly. It comes together super fast. But when you cut your foam, you can pre-cut strips, or I kind of just cut them as I need them. But when you cut your foam, you want it to be about the width of your hook gap. With these down eye hooks, it's a little tricky to get it right under, but you can see about the size of the hook gap. You can go a little outside of that if you want like a slightly wider profile. But when you go to tie it in here, I just like kind of give myself a little taper. Just makes it a little easier to tie in. Might even been too much, but it's fine. So just gonna put that top of your hook and catch it with a thread wrap. Cinch that down. You're just gonna run this up, This is a fly where, you know, your tie-ins don't have to be super clean. We're going to cover all this with ice stub in a second here. So tie that in, run your thread back to your tying point. Some guys, like we're going to end up folding this over. If you don't like a lot of hook showing like that, kind of a personal preference thing, you can run your thread back just a little bit more, but I usually don't go too far behind the barb at all. So we're going to go, like I said, we're using an ice dub body for this one, so I'm going to use the Peacock color right here. And I'm just going to dub some of that on. You can make this as thick or thin as you want. I definitely recommend starting thin because we have this bump from the foam. You can get a little chunkier towards the end. But honestly, with dubbing in general, it's kind of easier to have a uniform noodle the whole way and bulk it up by adding additional wraps instead of trying to guess in your dubbing loop. It's going to be nowhere near enough here. Like I said, this certainly doesn't have to be too pretty at all. Alright, so you're going to run that up to, you know, behind your eye, and then you're going to move it back a little bit. Just a hair, like less than a hook eye's length behind the eye here. And then we're just going to take our foam, fold it over, hold it with your left hand, secure it with your right. You can do like a couple loose wraps, and then pull down, cinch it, and you can kind of add a few more wraps on top of it. And then we're just about almost done here. So then you're going to take your, like I said, I'm using the round rubber legs today. You can use whatever you want. I didn't even mention in the intro, you can use span flex too. It gives it a lot of action. But what I like doing with my legs here is you're going to tie them in on the near side. Just a couple loose wraps here. And you kind of move them around to where you want them. Cinch them up a little bit. And then you just take your excess and come around the front of the hook and catch it on the back side. This is so you can use one piece. You don't have to tie in two separate pieces. And these legs, even when the fly's finished, you can move them around, so not super critical that you get them in the exact perfect right place. But yeah, I mean, that's the fly right there. I'm gonna just whip finish around our legs. They might move a little bit on us, but it's fine. You can move them. Just a 5 to 6 turn whip finish. I like throwing it on the top here. Oh, no, we forgot something. Alright, leave your whip finish here. We need a cider. So I like using these foam cylinders if I'm tying for people. These are the 3/32 foam cylinders, but like I said, you can get one of those big sheets of foam and have a lifetime supply of cider. So just gonna throw that right on top, just like that. Now we're gonna whip finish. And then, like I said, just kind of seat that up top. Cut your thread off close. And then just trim it up. So split our legs here. And then, I don't know, I don't like leaving a huge flap in the front. Just go a little bit past the hook eye. Totally up to you if you want to do more or less. Trim the cider down. And then for the legs, it's kind of up to you on how long. I kind of just come in and guesstimate and do something like around there. Something like that. Try and make them fairly even on both sides. And that's it. Come in. Since I whip finish on top, I like throwing a little bit of Z-ment on these. I use these flies a lot, and I like to try to make them as durable as possible. So just a little coating of super glue on the top there. Seems to do the fly well, but that is the fly. These come together super quick. You can pump them out. Nothing fancy, but a beetle that will fish. Thanks for watching.